Hello, my name is Edward Crosby Wells, and I'm a playwright. I'm going to read for you, a monologue titled Pink Gin for the Blues. Pink Gin for the Blues is written for a mature drag queen, so you'll have to use your imagination and visualize me wearing a wig and maybe a feather boa, whatever it is. And I'm seated at a bar, at least my character is, uh, facing an invisible bartender, and you will play the invisible bartender. So here we go, the monologue, Pink Gin for the Blues. I don't know. Crime has become institutionalized, hasn't it? From the bottom to the top, everybody's doing it. Now it's mostly white collar, isn't it? That's a kind of drag, don't you think? White collar, silk tie, and pinstripes or tweeds. It's all drag, sweetie. It's the CEOs and the politicians getting caught in the act now, isn't it? Of course, they've always been doing it, but most folks are pretty slow to catch on. Mm. We're either raping or looting or being raped and looted. We're either politicians or we're political prisoners. Hmm? This has nothing to do with anything, darling, nothing to do with anything, just the words of an old drag queen. I'm sorry. Some days I just get wrapped up in the world, this sorry, sorry world. Drag queens shouldn't be taken seriously, should they? You're looking particularly well this evening. Mm-hmm. Gin with a touch of bitters. It's called pink gin. You don't get much call for it, I suppose. Oh, the first. Well, there you go. Maybe you won't soon forget me, huh? The drag queen who drinks pink gins. Oh, what? Oh, I don't remember. Perhaps it was something by Noel Coward. They were all sitting around in lavishly appointed digs, posed in gowns and tuxedos, and glorious black and white and every shade of gray in between. There would always be one, and that one would be me, casually anchored to a fireplace, taking turns between sipping smoke through a long cigarette holder and inhaling gin and bitters in a white satin gown with a plunging neckline. Ooh, my heart be still. How posh is that? Well, tastes like pond scum. Well, at first, I mean, then one gets used to it. Before you know it, you like it. Like so many things, we just get used to them, like friends and lovers we learn to hate. Is there a show tonight? Or am I it? Just you, just me? And I wore my Shelley Winters. Ah, yes, all my wigs have names. This is late Shelley Winters, post Poseidon. It's all post something nowadays, isn't it? What comes after postmodern? Well, whatever it is, I'm sure I'm already there. Fashionable as always, fashionable, fashionable. Fashionable is always fashionable, isn't it? You ought to see me in my Ava Gardner. Now that is the most beautiful woman there ever was. Well, I guess it's early yet. I hate to walk into a room already filled with people. I like to greet the guests as they enter. It elevates my level of comfort. I like to grow into the evening, to feel more a part of it, more at one with the crowd. And oh my dear, I hate to leave early. I hate to feel compelled to do the rounds, to say my goodbyes and think of something clever, some final parting gem that will endure and endear me in their memory. One must think of something clever. When you're an old drag queen dressed in feathers and beads, one must always think of something clever. When it is time to break the balloons and go home, I like to sit and smile at each and every one as they stop by to wish me well before departing. That's the proper way to treat a lady, isn't it? It really doesn't matter if it's sincere or not. It's the illusion of sincerity that carries the day. Still, sometimes it would be nice to be invisible. And other times, just not to care. You seem a bright young man. Have you grand plans for your life? Why not? You certainly strike me as someone who could go the distance, someone capable of doing whatever he damn well pleased. You have that air about you, that undeniable charm. You appear intelligent. Oh, yes, indeed you do. Some people have minds like steel traps. You know the kind. You say one thing, anything, and they bite you on the butt by responding to what they imagine, whether it's real or not. That's when you pray for divine intervention. Something clever, something to inspire you with the amazing grace to say something totally appropriate and sage-like. A mind is like a trap. It brings in stuff, some of it it hauls, some of it casts aside. The nasty thing about steel traps is that they damage the thing they are designed to catch. I much prefer the mind that is more a cardboard box, a stick, and a length of yarn. Somebody once said to me that there was nothing quite so sad as a woman in her cups. But I don't know. Except for the obvious, I don't know the difference between a woman and a man, do you? Do you know who is beneath all the grooming and the clothes, behind the eyes? We're all equally sad in our cups, a woman and a man out of control, out of our minds. I think there are far sadder things, like the soul of the man behind the drag, helplessly watching while sheepishly controlling the performance. Being able to sadly observe and to sadly control simultaneously. Now that's the trick, isn't it? Oh. And that's my name, Trick. Just Trick, and I've still a few up my sleeve. You have beautiful eyes. I'm forever trying to believe that there is some element of God in there, inside, behind the eyes, in you, in me. Oh, God bless my soul, the things we do for love. Now how sad is that? I had a live-in houseboy. I was his John. I kept him in booze and cigarettes between odd jobs. He was mostly between jobs, and they all seemed odd to me. He said he had to find himself, said I was smothering him and he had to get away. All right, go, I said, so he went. An hour later he came back, slammed the door, and ran into the bathroom. "That was quick," I said, and he said he had just come back to take a leak, and then he left again. Sort of gives new meaning to the word John, doesn't it? We never really learn, do we? They walk into our lives, glorious and new, bright as pennies, and we take them into our hearts along with their terrible, all-consuming, self-absorbed pain, exquisite pain, like no one's ever felt pain before. His pain could be felt from the next room, and his pain could be seen in his smile. His was the most fatal kind of pain, a gorgeous, unquenchable pain that glowed like coals behind his eyes, a pain so attractive that it can turn the best of us into moths. We throw ourselves into their beautiful fire, and we burn. It's a different world now, isn't it? Nowadays, you'd do better to keep your thoughts to yourself. Hide your soul, your spirit. Nobody cares. No, I take that back. They do care. They care when they hear thoughts that run counter to their own. They care when they don't like what they see. They care, and they care enough to make you want to run and to hide behind every available mask. So here I am, behind a mascara. It's called a pink gin. We used to drink them together through the night and into the wee hours, my houseboy and me. He didn't want to be touched, yet he made you think you were the only one. You'd want to believe him because not to believe him would force you to face the fool you've become. Oh well, pink gin, don't it sound grand? Are you sure there's a show tonight? You'd think there'd be more people here by now. Isn't life just plain weird sometimes? I'm sure you meet them all. I know how, or I don't know how you do it. It takes a very special kind of talent to be a bartender, and you certainly seem to have a special talent. This is where we met, my houseboy and me. Right here in this bar about a year ago. One glance, and that's when I fell into his eyes and the liquid that gave them their sparkle. Then something happened. Something always happens. Something happens to your sense of self when you discover that it is the drunk you love and not the drinker. Something happens when you discover that it wasn't the man in you he loved, but rather the woman with a penis, the enabler in lust. That's a tough one. I had the strangest experience this morning. I had just finished my douche. I'm just kidding. I was letting the tap water run hot so I could make myself a cup of instant coffee. Suddenly everything stopped. I stood there, frozen. I disappeared. I was completely gone from my body. I was out of my mind, literally. My only sensation was that of my body's recognition that nobody, so to speak, was home. You could have asked me my name and I would have had no idea what you were talking about. Slowly I began to re-enter myself, but something had changed. Like a wheel had turned for the first time, and something was gone, and had left an empty space in my mind, and I knew I would never remember it again. Oh well, maybe there's room in there for something else now, something new, something better. There must always be something better. Now, what I remember is that I never really got what I was looking for in the arms of another. Someone to touch me down there, to touch my heart and to kiss me on the lips. The world is a sad place, isn't it? Please come home with me. Nothing is the same without you. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Is there a show tonight? I'm here for the show, for the laughs. Please, I'd love another. And if I could have another, I'd surely love another. And while you're at it, why don't you have one on me?